Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you love breaking down sci-fi logic and exploring what makes or breaks a great idea, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Now, let's talk about why Starkiller Base just doesn't hold up. Starkiller Base, the First Order's answer to the Death Star. Bigger, more destructive, and way too ambitious to be realistic. Today, we're diving into why this planetary superweapon might just be the most over-the-top, impractical idea in all of Star Wars. Let's start with the Death Star. The original trilogy gave us this terrifying weapon, a metallic moon capable of blowing up entire planets. The thing is, it worked. Not just as a weapon, but as a concept. Why? Because it was simple, grounded, and believable within the Star Wars universe. The Death Star didn't have to deal with atmosphere or tectonics. It's a space station. No trees, no ecosystems, no nonsense. Just a super laser and a whole lot of kyber crystals. It's scary, but not absurd. Now enter Starkiller Base. It's like the First Order thought, hey, let's take the Death Star and crank it up to 11. Except they didn't think through the consequences. Let's break it down. Starkiller Base is a planet, not a space station, a planet. That means it has an atmosphere, gravity, ecosystems, and all the complications that come with them. But when it fires its weapon, a beam of super concentrated energy that's supposedly strong enough to destroy star systems, none of these things seem to matter. Here's the thing, firing a beam like that through the atmosphere should be catastrophic. Think about it. The energy would heat the air, vaporize clouds, and create massive shockwaves. What was dear old Oppenheimer afraid of? Oh yes, burning the atmosphere via igniting it because of too great energy levels? And this continuous beam of system-destroying laser death ray supposedly cannot do that. Well, what do we see in the movie? Nothing. The clouds don't even budge. It's like the beam just politely asks the atmosphere to step aside. Again, even Oppenheimer, during the Manhattan Project, briefly worried that a nuclear bomb might ignite the atmosphere. Yet here, we're firing a galaxy-destroying laser, and everyone just stands there. It feels powerful, huh? For those observing it from the surface of it, I guess. Maybe even gives you a tan.
Fuck.
Then there's the whole star draining thing. Starkiller Base supposedly sucks up the energy of an entire star to power its weapon. But stars aren't batteries. They're massive nuclear furnaces, and draining one would create a gravitational collapse or a supernova. You can't just pack all that energy into a planet without it, blowing up. Also, it is presented so stupid in the movie, it looks like the sun power drained to the planet might easily engulf whole planet base. Why so stupid, movie? Why are you looking so stupid? Or are you messaging subliminally, to the audience they are stupid for watching it, so they must tolerate the immense stupidness? And what about the recoil? A weapon powerful enough to destroy systems should at least shake the planet it's firing from. But nope, Starkiller Base just chills there like it's no big deal. Finally, let's talk logistics. The First Order is a remnant of the Empire, operating on limited resources. Yet somehow, they've built a superweapon that's exponentially larger and more complex than the Death Star. Where did they get the materials, the manpower, the funding? And don't forget, this thing needs to remain habitable. How do you retrofit a planet with enough machinery to drain stars and fire lasers while keeping it stable for your troops? It's way too much. So, where does that leave us? The Death Star worked because it was focused, believable, and terrifying. Starkiller Base? It's a classic case of overreach. If they'd scaled it down, say, a smaller planetary weapon or a mobile space station, it could have been just as effective without breaking suspension of disbelief. But Starkiller Base could have been so much cooler. Imagine if the movie spent time showing the First Order obsessively building it, believing in its potential, while the Resistance debated whether it was even possible for such a massive project to work. They could have built tension as the First Order pushes ahead, ignoring warnings from their own scientists. The Resistance tries to sabotage it, but ultimately decides to wait and see if the First Order's hubris will be their downfall. Then, at the climax of the film, the First Order finally activates Starkiller Base. Hux gives his grand imperial militaristic morale-boosting speech, the weapon powers up, and disaster strikes. Instead of cleanly firing the beam, the weapon malfunctions. Maybe it starts shooting into space, but the recoil makes the planet spin like crazy, and beam goes not in the desired directions. The energy buildup from draining the star also destabilizes the planet. Shockwaves ripple across the surface. The atmosphere ignites, and the First Order's ultimate weapon destroys itself in a fiery implosion. All that while Hux is yelling, "Faggot!"